Modification.com. Welcome to our live Saturday question and answer class. You can ask questions about fluent American English, how to pronounce words, whatever you need help with for improving your American English and your fluent speaking. Feel free to put those in the chat at any time, or if you're watching as a replay, you can leave your questions in a comment. At the start of class, as usual, we will be looking at something to help you out. I'm going to talk about a topic. In particular today, I want to focus on the words this and these. And we're going to talk about fluent linking and use of these words and some accent error patterns to watch out for, just to make sure you feel confident using these and you're not making an error that I often see with these two words. So let's get into it. So first of all, the word this, if we look at the IPA transcription, we're going to have the voiced TH sound, the I sound, and the S sound. So in this case, letter S is going to say the S sound. Letter I is going to say the I sound, as in it did. And the reason I point this out is that when we look at these, we have the same first sound, but then letter E with the silent E at the end is going to say the tense E sound, as in eat. And then the letter S in this word says the Z sound. So while they look similar, and often people may be pronouncing these two words the same or too similar, they're quite different in that this is has a strong, quiet S, this, whereas these has the Z sound. So when I'm saying these, you may not hear a strong Z like these, but what you don't want to hear is these. You don't want to hear a strong S. When I'm saying this, I want to make sure I'm getting that vowel correct so that it doesn't sound like these. You can see how I can easily make a sound that's in, or make a word or pronunciation that's in between these two. We want to make sure that this and these are very distinct. And why is this so important? That's because we use these differently in words. So I just said, why is this so important, meaning one thing. We use these two words differently. So this is the singular form, and these is the plural. So when I'm talking about multiple things, I say these things. When I'm talking about one thing, this thing. And so if you're not making a clear distinction between these words, it may sound like a grammatical mistake when really you're just having a pronunciation challenge there. So how do I suggest, or what do I recommend for clarifying this? Using a lot of other words that also have the I vowel when you're practicing on the word this, such as this is it, is this it, this is with it, with this, using a lot of those kinds of words, making sure you're matching your vowel and keeping consistent with that more open, lax I vowel. And then same thing with these, using a lot of words that have the E vowel, as in these are green, we need these mean streets, just trying to really reinforce that vowel E is there. I chose these two phrases to also show you how we link and connect these two phrases. So when I'm saying this is it, I'm going to link between these two. My first letter S is an S sound, as I mentioned, in this. So it's going to sound like this, and then this last letter S in the word is a Z sound. This is it. So this is it, this is it. Notice how the S kind of jumps to the front and the Z kind of jumps to the front. That can help you really, especially with the Z sound, making sure that it doesn't become this is it, but rather this is it, this is it. Taking that slowly rather than breaking between the words, just slow the whole thing down but still link. That sounds like this is it. This is it. Then you can speed up a little bit. This is it. Finally saying it at your natural speaking pace. This is it. This is it. And then for these are green, we're also going to link the these to the are. These are. If I was just saying these are, and I'm stressing on are, I'm going to keep that R sound. But because the R is not stressed here, it's going to sound a little bit more reduced, more like an sound, ðiːz. So I often write that this way, the same way I would write the word geezer, ðiːz. These are green. And because in this statement, green is stressed and it's the important word, then these are gets linked and reduced. These are green, these are mine, these are yours, these are important. That last word is always going to be the stressed word, and these two words are going to go by quickly and be linked together. So I hope that helps you notice both the pronunciation for this and these, which are some of the most commonly used words in English, as well as how to link these in these particular phrases. ðiːz is something that I talk about in some other videos for my fluent speaking and my real talk course. You can check that out. Also, ðiːz is something that we use a lot. So practice those with other phrases. You can do this is mine, this is yours, this is too much, this is just right. These are great, these are not so good, these are happening, etc., etc. So it's a great way to practice on some really common combinations of words, sounding natural, pronouncing things correctly, and being fluent. I will say that I am working on some new videos or some more videos for shadowing practice. So watch for those coming out. I'm looking at taking some of my newer videos that are more vlog style, where I'm sharing my thoughts and I'm sharing different elements from my life outside of the studio here. I'm using those videos then to break down how I speak when I'm just talking naturally and spontaneously, and showing you how you can shadow that. So watch for those videos coming throughout November and December. Let me know if there's particular topics you'd like to see or what you think about those shadowing videos. I appreciate your input, your comments, your feedback. It does help me shape what I choose to share here on the channel. And welcome everyone. It's nice to see so many of you here. I'm going to turn to your questions now. As I mentioned at the start, please feel free to put any types of questions in the chat and also in the comments if you're watching this later on. I do go back through comments and respond to you, send you information and links to where you can get answers to your questions here on the channel or on my website, speechmodification.com. I'll also just request that if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. That helps the channel to grow, shows YouTube that you like this content, and that it will show it to more people. So I appreciate that support and that help. And also a big shout out and thank you to those of you who have joined as channel members. Channel members get some extra bonus videos, quick early release of some of my pronunciation videos and other videos as well. So thanks so much for your support, channel members. Okay, let's turn to your questions. We have a question about the word shovel. Yeah, this is definitely one that I often hear mispronounced. And that's because it looks like it should have two clear vowels, but really it's like the word shove, which we pronounce with the schwa vowel. So I'll write that as a U, shove. And then the EL doesn't say L. We don't have any vowel for that E sound. We just have the dark L, shovel. So it's what's called a syllabic L. If there were any vowel there, it'd be like a little bit of an sound, shovel. But I'm really just going as quickly as I can from the V to the with the back of my tongue down, the front of my tongue lifted. So the IPA is going to be first syllable stress, the sh, the the V, and then the Sometimes in the dictionary, they'll show a little schwa before that, shovel, vol. I would say it's a little higher, usually, vol, shovel. So I need a shovel. It's going to be season for us to shovel snow again soon. Yeah, very good. Thank you for that. Similar words, we have words like travel, travel. It also has that vol at the end. Hovel, travel, also with a B, trouble. So some of these you can get help for that syllabic L in my videos for that here on the channel. as well as in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. I walk you through all the different things L can say at the end of words, in the middle of words, and beginnings of words. So check that out. It's our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. Thanks for bringing that up. I think that that's a challenging word for a lot of people, so it's a good one to discuss here in class. Okay, and then you also asked about environmental. So I do think I have a video about environment. Environmental toll is also that kind of syllabic L at the end. And we're stressing on the men in mental, a little secondary stress on the vi. So it sounds like environmental. So environmental. So I'm using my mixed message here, IPA there, environ. So sometimes people will say it as environ or environ. I often use this, which is less correct, but it's really hard to say environmental. I think people really often transpose that R and that N sound. Then we have mental. Environmental. Yeah, that's another difficult word, both with sequencing those sounds, getting this viren correct, and then that syllabic L at the end. That's probably what you're noticing if shovel is also troubling for you. Okay, thank you so much. Great words. Okay, and we have a question about aerobic and anaerobic, but whether the pronunciation is different. So in aerobic, anaerobic, aerobic, anaerobic, they're both stressed on the row of aerobic. So aerobic, it's not it's A and E. I'm used to writing that way. So AE, aerobic, sounds like aerobic, and then anaerobic just sounds like it has the A vowel, and we'll up with the N here. So be like anaerobic. So aerobic and anaerobic. Yeah, very good. And the pronunciation aerobic and yeah, so they both have the for the letters AE. That was your question. Okay, I wanted to make sure that it was being clear. Thank you. Definitely challenging words. Okay, welcome. We have one of our channel members here. He's asking about fortunately and unfortunately. So fortunately is going to be stressed on the for, which means the or is going to have its true or sound. Fortunately, the tu is going to be the ch sound, ch. Fortunately, we're not going to say in fortune we have an oo there, but in fortunate we just have a schwa there. Letter A says the is sound, fortunately. So that's going to sound like fortunately. And then when we add the un, we're just going to add a short little un, schwa, and n. Unfortunately. So if you practice on fortunately, then just add a little un. Fortunately, unfortunately. Fortunately, I was able to have class today. Unfortunately, I had to miss last week because I was traveling. Thank you, and thank you for being a channel member. Okay, we have a question about how to pronounce beauty parlor. That's a kind of old-fashioned term. You don't hear people talking about beauty parlor so much anymore. Now it's more common to say hair salon. Also, I think parlor, that's more the British spelling. I think we might just spell it LOR in American English, but I'm not sure off the top of my head. Beauty parlor makes me think of like the 1950s. So beauty, we have the oo sound has a y in front of it. So beau, that looks like beau, and that's where it's stressed. The T is going to be flapped. So beauty. And then in parlor, we have the AR does say R, so we have par. And then the final is just an not or our or anything, just parlor. So beauty, parlor. My grandmother went to the beauty parlor once a week to have her hair set. And that's actually true. Okay, and let's take a look at meteorology. Yeah, so this is one you heard me say it very slowly to make sure I said it correctly. I do have a video about meteorology and meteorologist. So this one, fortunately, does really kind of match its spelling. There's nothing too tricky about it except for just making sure you can get all of those syllables, and also that you know which vowel sounds these vowel letters say. So let's break it down for you. So we have first E says E, me. This T is a flap, so it sounds more like a D in American English, meaty. Next E also says E, meteor. And then this OR is the first time it doesn't really match. Letter O just says an there, meteor. And this letter O is meteor. Ology, it's where we have our main stress, so that letter O follows the rule. It says the ah vowel. And then this next letter O is unstressed, it's a schwa. Letter G says the j, as in gentleman or jump. And then we have an E for the Y at the end. So I would write that as me, d, ah, la, G. If I was going to spell it in typical inventive spelling to help you understand the pronunciation. Meteorology. Between the D and the you're going to hear a little bit of a y connecting. They're not going to show that in the IPA in the dictionary. It's just what happens with vowel to vowel linking when we go from the high front E to the ear. So meteorology. This one, two techniques are going to help you master it. One is start on the stress syllable, ology, and then add your other syllables before that. Ology, orology, deurology, meteorology. That's backwards chaining. The next would be go slowly, syllable by syllable, but keep the rhythm relative. So still stress on the ah. So that sounds like meteorology, meteorology, meteorology. And then don't forget to practice meteorology in some short phrases, because you might master it by itself and then it's still tricky to use it when it comes time to talk about it. So he's studying meteorology. Even I struggled. Meteorology is an important science for us, and we need to make sure we have enough funding for meteorology. Great, thank you for that request. Great, let's turn to some more questions. We have a question about how to pronounce restaurant. So basically, there's two different ways. So in restaurant, we can say it as three syllables, restaurant, with the first syllable being stressed. That would sound like the IPA would be restaurant. And that sounds like restaurant. But people often will lose this middle syllable and they'll just say it like restaurant. So thinking about that T as connecting to the unstressed syllable. So in normal fluent speech, correct way, restaurant. We went to the restaurant. I'll meet you at the restaurant. So I can say I'll meet you at the restaurant. It's not wrong, but it's less typically heard. We tend to drop that middle syllable and just say restaurant. It's a really good restaurant. Do you like Indian restaurants, etc. Yeah, thank you. That's a good request, a good word to cover here. Okay, we have a question about how to pronounce earlier. So early and earlier, I do have a video for this on the channel. It's even though it's an EA, it's not an ear sound. It's just an sound. So write that like early. IPA is going to be early. So you may find that difficult because it has the R and the L together. So just make sure you keep your tongue back and tight for that and then lift it to the front behind the teeth for the ly. Early, early. Yeah, very good. Thank you for that request. Okay, we have a question about American English. Is dour pronounced like dour rhyming with tour, or dour rhyming with tower? It's pronounced like dour rhyming with tower. So she had a dour look on her face, same as sour. So power and tower, these hour all have the same hour, 2-syllable hour, or that triphthong hour with the vowel to vowel linking. I do have a video talking about words like hour and tower, so hopefully that will, you can check that out as well, and that will help you. Okay, we have a question about how to pronounce bored. So the bored, like as in I'm bored in class, sounds the same as board, like the floorboards or the chairman of the board, and it's just an or diphthong with a D at the end and a B at the beginning. So they were bored. I need to get on board. Do you have a board for me? Very good. Thank you. And then you also asked about autodidacticism. So that one is just something to break down again, syllable by syllable. We have autodidacticism. So we have autodidact, autodidactic, autodidacticism. We're stressing on the second to last syllable here. So we have for ah, AU, we have the ah sound. T is going to be flapped here, auto. And then this I is going to be an I like my or might. Autodidacticism. It's actually not stressed on schism, it's stressed on dac. So autodidacticism. So again, just taking it syllable by syllable, and there's a little bit of a pattern here, like of autodidacticism, a little bit of kind of jumping back and forth with stressed and unstressed. Main stress is on dac though. So you can also, again, start with the stressed syllable, dacticism, didacticism, autodidacticism. Build your way from the back, or take it slowly, syllable by syllable, and then speed up. Thank you. That's a less commonly used word in spoken English, but if it's something that comes up for you or you have to say it, it's definitely a bit of a challenge, so I'm glad you asked. Okay, we have a question about stress with compound words like bookshelf or toolbox. So I have quite a few videos talking about compound nouns. Basically, when we have two nouns together that form a new noun, or even when it's two separate words, for example, phone booth. We don't actually say phone booth too much anymore. Or grocery store would be another example. We always have stress on both syllables, but the first noun gets the primary stress. So I don't reduce bookshelf. Like if I were saying, for example, booking, booking, the ing is very short and unstressed, booking. In bookshelf, I still have the full word of shelf. It doesn't get reduced. Bookshelf, I just have more length and more stress on book. My bookshelf. We often also will use more of a higher pitch on the first noun and a lower pitch on the second. Put it on the bookshelf, bookshelf. Put it in the toolbox. There aren't any more phone booths to be seen. Yeah, so that's basically it. But you want to stress on the first of two. These compound nouns and compound noun phrases sneak up on you, and the reason that we often hear errors on them is that if I'm in a normal case, the last noun in a phrase would get stressed. So if I'm saying put it in the big box, put it in the big box, then the box is going to get stressed if there's an adjective. But in toolbox, that whole thing counts as the last content word. So either if it's one word or two words, it still counts together, and we stress on the first of the two in the compounds. Yeah, that's a definite, it's one of the main intonation error patterns that I hear from non-native speakers, because your brain knows the rule of stressing that last content word, and it's an exception to the rule basically, and there's so many compound nouns it's hard to recognize them and find them as you're speaking. Okay, we have a question about consume and consumption. So here's a place where the vowel sounds change, as we have two different versions of the word. This is a common phenomenon. So in consume, we have the unstressed schwa in the first syllable, and the stress is on the sum. So it sounds like consume. One thing to watch out for here is that we don't have any y sound. It's not sum, but rather just sum. So this is a pattern that in British English you might have learned consume with a y, sum. In American English, just sum, consume. And I've rewritten this with no vowel because I don't want con or con. Oh, no O sound there. It does have a schwa, but it's very short, consume. And then in same idea in consumption, except that now we change to a schwa here. So it's consum, just like the word sum or sun, consumption, consumption. The P, I don't really hear consumption. If I did consumption, the P, if I let that P out, it would be noticeable. But what happens is it makes the M sound kind of short, consumption. So I'm kind of stopping the M. I'm not doing consumption, although that doesn't sound too weird in this word. So you can either drop it entirely or just stop your M short, consumption. And then the TION just sounds like shun. So consumption and consume. We need to reduce our energy consumption. We consume too much energy. Good words. Thank you very much. Okay, and then we have a question about specific way to pronounce beach. Yes, okay, so I do have a video about how to pronounce beach, and also sheet, because people are often nervous about pronouncing these because they don't want to do it with the I sound, which would be the other word that I also am not going to mention now, which I do mention in the other video, so you'll be able to hear those contrasts really clearly. So the reason these are problematic is because when we have the E vowel, like in beach, so it is a ch sound, looks like this, and sheet. When the word ends with a ch or a t, the vowel is naturally shorter because these are unvoiced sounds. And so we often think of the I vowel, like in hit, as the short one, and heat as the longer one. That's the E sound. That's the I sound. The problem with thinking of it that way is that we still need to make this E somewhat short in a word like heat or sheet. And so we tend to then accidentally use the I vowel like in hit in these words, which we don't want, obviously. So, so what I would say is if I'm saying the word beach, say it with just the E sound first and then add your H. So if I say B, I tend to not have too much trouble using that E, that tense E vowel. I'm just going to hold it nice and long, B. And then when I put my ch back on, B, beach, I can just match that vowel. Same thing with she and then sheet. I'm just going to match that E sound. I also like to do things like saying clean beach, meet me at the beach, where I feel more confident saying that E vowel. Clean sheets. I need 3 sheets. Really matching that E sound can help you. And then really just practicing the one with and without the E. So saying actually beach and then intentionally saying beach, bitch, sheet, shit. It's going to help you really clear up and feel confident when it comes time to say these that have the E vowel, that you're not going to accidentally say the one you don't want to say. So I would suggest checking out my video for that in more detail, but just recognizing that you are probably using the correct E vowel. You just have to make sure it's high and tense. So thank you for that request. A lot of people struggle with that. Okay, we have a question about bureaucratic. So for bureaucratic, we have bureau. So in bureau, we say this as an O. In bureaucratic, it becomes just an sound. So it sounds like then the T is flapped. Bureaucratic. And then for breath, even though in breathe we have an E, here we have just the sound. It sounds like breath. So take a breath. And bureaucratic. Okay, and then we have a question about the word purpose. So she did it on purpose. So it looks like pose at the end, but this again is a very reduced vowel. So my main stress here is on the per sound. That's going to be long. And then I'm just going to have a little sound there. Very short, almost no vowel. Purpose. What's the purpose of this? So just practice kind of using very little vowel there for the ps part. Purpose. Very good. Excellent word. Okay. Okay. And then we have a question about the word smarter. Yeah, this is definitely a tough one for smarter. A lot of people have trouble when there's multiple R's, like in R, like in harder or martyr, smarter. Also, people have trouble with the flap T before the So think about it like a real light D. And then the R is, the letters AR do say R in this word. You may want to build from the R. So try R, mar. And watch that you don't get too far back with that M. Mar, you're just a light little slide into the position. Mar, smar. And then build from the back as well. Try der, arder, martyr, smarter. You can also just take it really slow. Smarter, making sure you have that R gliding and that der, just a tight little at the end. For a word like smarter, try working on it by itself and then really use it with a lot of short phrases, because otherwise you're going to come to the word when you're speaking and you're going to struggle. But if you've done a lot of repetition, like a smarter practice, smarter accent training, smarter test, smarter person. You're going to feel like it becomes more natural. And then also work on words like harder, marker, other things that have R, and you can check out my videos for that. Also, check out my Sounds of English course. I walk you through the details of words like smarter and how to practice them, how to get all of those sounds correct, sequencing them, and make those double R words a little bit easier to say. Thanks, it's definitely a difficult word for a lot of people. Okay, wonderful to see so many of you here today, and let me just see, I think I have missed one request. So let's look at puritanical. So for puritanical, we have stress on the tan. This pu is a pure. We do have a y sound there. Some people may say it more like puritanical. It depends on how you say the word pure. I tend to say it as pure. Other regions of the country will say pure. So both are correct, either puritanical or puritanical. So puritanical. And we have our syllabic L there at the end. Puritanical. Okay, and then we have a question about Democrat and democracy and democratic. I do have some videos for this here on the channel as well, but they're pretty important words for us right now, so let's go over them. So in democracy, we have the stresses on ma, and letter O says the ah sound. So we'll have just a little I sound for this first syllable, democracy. Democracy. And then Democrat, as in she's a Democrat, is stressed on the dem. So we have dem, we changed to the F vowel from the I vowel, dem-a-crat. And then if we have democratic, we just add cratic, it becomes a flap sound. So democratic. So the Democrats are trying to be democratic and keep our democracy intact. Yeah, a lot of words that are coming up now because of the recent elections, the government shutdown, all of those things going on, people paying attention. So thank you so much. It was nice to see so many of you here. Welcome back to the Saturday classes. I will be hosting these through November and December, maybe with a few exceptions if there are some holidays coming up. But you can see the upcoming live classes on the channel page, and you can also mark them, subscribe to the channel. You'll get notified when I go live. Please feel free to leave questions on this video in the comments or any of my other videos. If you have something that we didn't get to today, I'd be happy to help you out. And as I said, I'm excited about some new videos coming up for more shadowing practice, fluent speaking. Of course, we'll stick with our regular pronunciation and linking, fluent speech, all kinds of different tips for you. If you haven't yet checked out our podcasts, we also do have some of those here on the channel, as well as on other places that you can find podcasts. As I mentioned before, please subscribe if you haven't already. Join as a channel member, get some extra perks, and thanks so much, everyone. Being here for part of class, your comments, your questions, your likes are a great way to support the channel. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday when our next video drops, and next Saturday for another live class. Thanks everyone for a great class today. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye everyone. Looking forward to seeing you again soon.